What is up on the U-Box, guys? This is Top Hat Productions 115 coming at you with yet another video. This one I'm going to try to keep a little bit short. You can probably hear the server noise in the background, but I'll go in and try to talk over it since it isn't too bad. Firstly, it's been around 2 weeks since I last talked with you guys. Sorry about that. It's been pretty hectic. Working on not only getting my telework setup optimized, but also making sure that I get everything paid off that I need to, loans and all. We're all good, right? You already knew about the college loan. But anyway, here's the important thing. The server project is moving forward still. But here's what happened in those 2 weeks while I was offline. Firstly, I bought a few items for the server. I bought 2 NICs in addition to a few other things, but you'll hear about the other things in later videos. I kind of want to keep a few surprises up my sleeve so that I have more long-term content to create. But for now, we're just going to talk about 2 items here. Technically 3, because one of them is actually a kit that comes with a separate item. But we're going to talk about this one, and then we're going to talk about this one. Firstly, I got this in an attempt to actually create a Linux networking VM of sorts. What I was actually going to do is that I was actually planning on throwing this wireless adapter card along with a few other wired, I think it was like 110, I think, yeah. I was going to throw this wireless card in there, one 10 GBE network card, wired, and then I was also going to throw in a few 1 gigabit per second NICs as well, Ethernet. But I didn't get to actually test this for a few reasons, and I'll get to that later. The second item that I bought was actually this. Now, some of you, if you're actually paying attention to the server project, may be wondering why I would buy this thing, because any of you who are keen-eyed know that this is actually a 10 gigabit per second, well, not 10 gigabit, technically yes, but this is what you would call 10 GBE, and if I remember correctly, SFP+. And I'll just go in and pull up a few images here for examples. Yeah. Good example. Okay. So, any of you who know about network cards in general might know about this. This is SFP+, and this is a 10 GBE NIC. Dual ports. Nice, but anyway. The point is, I got one of these, but the server project already has a 10 GBE NIC included with it. It has a solar flare NIC. Now, the reason why I got this one, the HP one, was because of the fact that, hypothetically, if it had worked out, it wouldn't take up a PCIe slot like the solar flare NIC does, which would free up a PCIe slot for other devices. Secondly, it would also, in theory, upgrade to, if I remember correctly, I think it was supposed to upgrade 2 of my Ethernet ports to 10 gigabits per second as well. I might be wrong on that, don't quote me. But long story short is, this would have been not only a space-saving measure, but also would have possibly allowed for me to have more than one 10 gigabit per second network port. But there is a caveat. The caveat being that when it actually does that upgrading of the Ethernet ports, out of the 4 integrated ports that are on the back of the 580, 2 of them would have been disabled. So I would have had 10 gigabit per second pretty much all around for the DL580, but 2 of my 4 integrated Ethernet ports would have been disabled, which isn't really too bad, seeing that this module already adds 2 other ports to the back of the server. So I'd still have 4 networking ports in all to use, 2 of which would be SFP+, 2 of which would be Ethernet, and all 4 of them would be running at 10 gigabits per second. And I also already have the cabling to enable this solution. So this pretty much looked like an all-around really good solution for me, hypothetically speaking. Because if it had worked as it was supposed to, then the entire server would have been upgraded to 10 gigabits just without an issue. And as I said before, if it had worked as it was supposed to, I would have been able to remove the solar flare NIC that's sitting in the server and maybe moved it to another computer so that I could actually have more than one device with SFP plus 10 GBE capabilities. But that didn't quite work out. And I'll go on and get into why that is in a few seconds. Just doing a quick reminder here. This device also didn't end up working out for other reasons. But long story short, the first NIC out of these two that arrived, the first one that got installed into the server was this one. But almost right afterward, I just didn't get the chance to test it because I had other things to do, like chores and stuff like that, and I was preparing for the holidays. This was like, I think that one, the wireless NIC here, arrived right before Thanksgiving. So as soon as I actually got it in-house, I immediately had to start preparing for the Thanksgiving get-together that my family is having. And keep in mind that was a very small gathering and/or get-together due to COVID-19. We had like maybe 6 people at the most. And that included me, my parents, and I, so like 3, and then maybe like another 3 people, and that was it. So it was a very, very small gathering. Not many people were there. We had like a bunch of other people over like Zoom and other wireless meetings, I think, instead. But this came in right before the holiday, and I put it in the server, never got the chance to test it. So a whole entire week goes by, this thing's sitting in the server, I never get to power the server on. Next week, I think like maybe a week or 2 after that, I got this NIC in the mail, and I went to go throw it into the server, but as soon as I actually opened up the package containing this NIC, there was also a memory module that was included with it. It was a 512 megabyte DDR2 mini DIMM, I believe. And the reason behind that is because of the fact that that mini DIMM is actually required for this network card to work at all. For this network card to work at all, for that upgrading of the 2 ports in the back to work, for any of it to work, it needs that 512 megabyte DIMM that was included with the NIC. So just an FYI, if any of you guys ever actually buy this product, you will need to actually install the small network module that comes with it. You'll actually need to install that. Aside from that, so I had this one and this one both installed into the server. I think, yeah, last night, when I finally got the chance to test it out, right? Last night, I powered up the server and went to see if I could actually use the NICs. Well, lo and behold, when I powered on the server, my 4 terabyte hard drives stopped showing up. These right here, which are pretty much one of the crux of the project here. Without these, the majority of the project just won't work because I won't have enough storage space to do the things I'm actually planning on doing. So having these not show up for a second time in ESXi was a major blow. I'm sitting there trying to figure out why it doesn't work, and the first thing that I pretty much came to the conclusion was maybe I need to reseat the HBA. Tried reseating it, that didn't do anything. Tried reseating the cables as well, connecting the HBA to the drive cage and the power for the drive cage, but that didn't do anything either. So after a while, I ended up removing one NIC at a time. I first removed this wired card right here, the one that I mentioned, and that didn't do anything. I then ended up removing this NIC, and that didn't do anything either. And after removing both of those NICs, I then ended up reintroducing the solar flare NIC as well because, well, I had actually removed it as soon as I had added in this card. Added that back in, that didn't do anything. So as a last-ditch effort last night, what I did was I took out all the new parts. That was this NIC right here, this NIC right here, the the DDR2 module that came with this NIC right here, and last but not least, reintroduced the solar flare NIC. In addition to reintroducing the solar flare NIC, I then reset the HBA again, and then unplugged the server and let it sit unplugged overnight. So I pretty much ended up restoring the hardware configuration back to what it was before I had introduced all the new networking cards. So after letting it sit for an entire night, came back, plugged the server back in, and it finally worked. So that isn't to say that this NIC doesn't work. This NIC worked as it was supposed to. I actually saw it in the list of pass-through devices, and I was even able to get it working, or at least not working, but I was at least able to see it in the list of available devices when it was installed. Under, I think it was host, And if I remember correctly, where is it? Manage, I think? Yeah. Manage, and I'm under PCIe devices. I was able to see the NIC in this list of PCIe devices when it was still attached. However, with the new NIC installed, I was unable to use the 16 terabyte hard disk array, the SAS array that I've been talking about for a while, which is kind of sad. So I'm not quite sure how I will be able to integrate this new NIC into the server at this time, because I want to, but there are some caveats that prevent me from doing so currently. And I will be performing testing over the next few weeks, possibly, to try and see if I can get it working. Now, one other thing that I'd like to mention is the fact that during some of the reboots, I actually managed to lose the virtual flash resource pool that I had. So I'll have to re-add that once vCenter is back up and running, because right now I can't even access vCenter, if I remember correctly. Yeah, still getting that. Let me see. Can I access vCenter? Worked for me. No. Yeah, right now vCenter is acting up a little bit. I may have to actually restart that VM. But all in all, it's been a little bit of an adventure for the last few weeks. That is definitely not to say that this did not work. This definitely worked as intended from what I can tell. It showed up in the list of PCIe devices. It actually did function, if I remember correctly, but when I had it plugged in for some reason, it made it so that I could not access the 16 terabyte SAS array for whatever reason. So I'll just have to look into that. Maybe I have to look into whether or not I can enable above 4 gigabyte decoding. Aside from that, oh yeah, right. Aside from that, I'm also going to be working on setting up the Linux VM in a few days, possibly over the holidays. And once the Linux VM is set up, that will be pretty much the majority of the background management services and infrastructure that needs to be set up before I start working on front-end VMs. So that is the update for the server project. As I said, there are other devices that I purchased as well, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video, just due to the fact that I actually want to save those for future videos. And as you already probably have noticed, the description of this video hasn't been updated yet. I'll have to do that after the stream. Let me check OBS. How much time do I have? I've been streaming for 13 minutes. This is going to be a relatively short stream. Maybe I will do a gaming live stream later today. Maybe not, but first I have to get the vCenter VM working because for some reason it's not coming on right now. Anyway guys, you keep it cool, and I will see you in the next video.